Good afternoon, folks. Mike Wells, your World Explorer. Today, we are actually going to cut what is considered a huge invasive around throughout the entire state of Florida. It's called red pepper wood, also known as Brazilian pepper. Okay, so let me give you some backstory. All the way from there on the property, straight back this way, all the way back up front, used to be filled with these Brazilian peppers, these red pepper trees. I removed them. I set all the wood over there in one giant pile. Got to it 6 years later, processed it down, let it cure. Now we have a couple of raw chunks here that we would like to cut up. Okay, I'm going to cut them into pen blanks today. But the color of the wood is extremely red. Go figure. And it has a lot of color aside from the red. So we're really interested in utilizing this wood for our own personal use. Throughout the state of Florida, you're not allowed to cultivate these, but we're just making use of the actual wood that we received from, cutting them down. So let's get started. Now there are two styles of cuts that we're going to produce here. We want, if I cut this way, that's going to be a perpendicular cut. If I cut this way, produce the blank this way, that's a parallel cut. So first we're going to do a mix of both, but mostly perpendicular cuts, because those seem to come out the best when it comes to working with this wood. So let's see what we got. All right, this is what we're working with here. So you see, this looks a little bit decomposed, but it's not terrible. Do you see the striations? Very, very clean, good looking wood. Few insect holes, not a big deal. We're going to work around them. But yeah, this is fancy. And so we're going to utilize this wood. Let me chop this all of this up into smaller chunks, and then we'll really get going here. folks, here's the yield of our cuts from today. You're probably looking at this thinking, oh, there's a bunch of weird stuff on there, and then there's a bunch of blanks. Okay, so let me show you here. This is the result right here of our parallel cuts. So we cut parallel to the grain. Okay. Now, these cuts came out really nice. You can see the color variations, the color shifts through the wood. But this is not everything that we're looking for. On the right end here, you're starting to see some perpendicular cuts. You also see some termite-eaten portions. Well, in here are mostly perpendicular cuts. Now, these perpendicular cuts give us a much better view of what's inside of the wood. So for this particular wood variety, the perpendicular cuts are the way to go, in my opinion, because you see there's way more going on with the perpendicular cuts. You get way more lines, way more color variance, just a whole bunch more. These ones on the end here, I'm actually really excited about those ones. I think they're going to come out fantastic. Here's some more perpendicular cuts. Some of them are parallel cuts, but mostly perpendicular cuts. And you see they were kind of kicking off spalting, but mostly coming from the termite intrusion. These are subterranean termites too, so that's a little fact. Now over here, same thing. Perpendicular cuts, got a lot going on with these pieces of wood. Any type of termite intrusions, I'm just going to be able to backfill those with a little bit of, what's it called, sanding powder. So when I go to sand the wood, I'm left with some fine granules of the wood as wood powder from sanding. And I'll just pack that into the holes and use some super glue to harden that into the holes. Now these pieces here are they're like corner angle cuts. So basically the idea is to take one, put it in the form, take the other one, set it on top. Both of them are in the form together, glued down to the bottom, and they leave this gap between the two. So then I pour a pearlescent resin in to the form and pull a vacuum and all that fun stuff. And it ends up creating this, filling the void between the two. And then I can turn this and then it'll look really unique. It looks like a river running through the center of the pin on both sides. It's really, really cool. So that's what I'm going to be doing with these corner pieces. They just look nice enough. They're big enough and nice enough to do that with. You got to get creative sometimes when you want to take advantage of some pretty woods that you have and you don't have a whole lot. I actually do have a whole lot, but I don't know, I'm kind of conservative when it comes to this. So this one, I will pair it with probably that one over there, that bigger one, and then make a pretty big brick, I would say, and then try to achieve some blanks out of that. These, they're just a little bit flatter. These are easier to work with. You see the voids. A grub was chomping and chewing through this wood at some point in its life, and they create these natural curve lines that I can't mimic on my own. It's just impossible. I don't have the time to even try to think about mimicking those types of curves and natural curve lines. So when I imagine backfilling this with like a very vibrant aqua blue pearlescent resin. It hardens. I make a couple blanks with it, turn them. Yeah, now you get the picture. You get to imagine. Here's another one over here. You get to imagine what that would look like when it's finished. At some point in the future, I will definitely be demonstrating that to you. They look really good too with these finer bored out holes from the termites. So you'll get both the grub and the termite versions going forward. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. That definitely helps our channel grow. And stay tuned, because obviously I got a lot of work in front of me, and I want to be able to share the outcomes with all of you folks. Have a great day.